progresses. For recording purposes, today is Venn diagrams and sets part 3. And this is the slide, the ending slide from last week. Well, one of the ending slides. So you and Rowan, but that's Rowan there. So two of you all are going, you all found an exit to the back of the cave, but you all also found a lagger who is being held captive. And of course, we have to make a choice here, whether we're going to release or help the lagger who escape. But obviously, we're going to be taking a chance because Rowan has said that in the past, another lagger who double-crossed her and left her for dead. Well, we can't be too judgy, right? Maybe not all lagger-whoos are the same, right? Maybe some lagger-whoos can be trusted and some cannot be trusted. So I have a good feeling that we're going to go with our heart and free him. But we'll see how that goes. Last week, before class ended, I had asked everyone to draw this diagram. So when we start class today, we can just hit the ground running. So let's do that. Here's what I want you guys to do as a test, and do it in pencil because you're going to make plenty mistakes. The first thing I want you to do is to complete this diagram. Now, when I say complete the diagram, I don't mean just draw the diagram, but some numbers are missing. Remember, in a Venn diagram, you just had to put T numbers. Like you might have to put the 35 here, the 2 here, the 9 here. I'm not going to give it away, all right? But I want you all to take a chance and just try to put in the numbers in the Venn diagram and label it as if it were an exam. It doesn't matter if you get it wrong. I just need you to try. And when you finish trying in pencil, let me know. But give it your best shot. Work it out. But the first thing we should probably do is pay attention to the 80 students. So there are 80 people in this entire diagram. So that 80 is supposed to go outside, right? So you can put the 80 outside. That represents everybody involved in the Venn diagram. I have a good feeling a lot of people, even though they knew that 80 people were involved, they probably just they forgot to put the 80 outside, probably. 9, well, G is for what? The German, and F is for what? French, obviously. 9 students study both French and German. So the 9 will go in between here. That's the intersect, because the intersect region, where the two circles overlap, that means that amount is common to both. What? Right? To both German and French. Let me finish. I know most people would have gotten that 9 correct. 35 students study French. So 35 will go obviously in the French circle. And 2 students do not study French or German, right? They don't study either of it. So that 2 will go outside. Based on the information they gave us, how much people have that? Let me know. How much people have that? What the is, right? Let me erase this. Well, to be fair, the 9 and the 2 are correct, right? I have no problem with the 9 and the 2. The 9 is the intersection region and the 2 is incorrect. But the problem is where this 35 goes. Where does that 35 go? And let me show you how to interpret that. If they say 35 students, oh, sorry, guys, it was correct. So I made a mistake. I got a little distracted just now. Sorry about that. I just want to show you something. 35 students only study French. If the question was phrased differently, right? If the examiner had left out the word only, I just saying if, right? Can't believe I got this wrong. If they said 35 students study French, do you know if they left out the word only, you could not put that 35 inside there? The only reason you allowed to put the 35 inside here is because they use the word only. I want to do the question like this, right? Without the word only. Anytime they leave out the word only, the value has to go outside the circle. So if they say 35 students study French, that 35 is placed outside the circle, and because it's placed outside the circle, it would represent the whole circle. I believe last week I mentioned that if you put a value just outside a shape, it represents the value of the entire shape. So quick question. I adjusted the question and removed the word only. Anybody could tell me what value would go inside here? If the whole circle is 35, if, right? And this portion is 9, how much is the balance here? Well, what do you think the balance is there? Right. So the answer would be 35 minus 9. 35 minus, let me get out there. 35 minus 9. It would be 26. Once again, if the whole circle is 35 and this portion is 9, then 9 plus what would give me 35? It would be 26. Right? I just saying if, remember, I altered the question. Right. So now, in a question like this, we need to complete the diagram. It's not fair that we have a 26 here, and a 9 here, and a 2 here. Anybody could tell me what value would go here in my adjusted question? If there are 80 people in all, 26 live here, 9 live here, 2 live outside, how much goes here? In other words, how much again you need to make 80? You do not have to count back the 35. The 35 is already broken up into 9 and 26. So do not add in that 35 in our calculations. Right? Now, some people are saying it's 34 and some people are saying it's 37, but let's do that. Let's add up 9, 26, and 2. Remember, 9, 26, but you can't forget Mr. 2 on the outside. 9 plus 26 plus 2. I'm getting 37. And how much we have in all? 80, right? How much is 80 minus 37? Once again, I added the 9, the 26, and the 2. That gave me 37, and I minus it from the total. I am getting, well, a lot of people are telling me, it's 43. It is 43. Well, and I'm going to keep saying this over and over. I know, again, kind of annoying with it, right? But remember, I adjusted the question and left out the word what? Only. The word only used to be there. It's not there in this question. So quick question. How come in this diagram, it have a f equal to 35? But to be fair, shouldn't the g also have a value on the outside? What value do you think would go outside here? Because I don't think it's fair f alone or French should get a value for the whole circle outside. Mr. G is feeling left out. What value do you think goes over here? Remember, when you're putting a value outside a shape, it represents, no, the answer is not 43. Listen to the question. If you are putting a value outside the shape, doesn't it represent the whole shape? So if you put in the value for G outside, it represents the whole G circle. What two values are in that circle? Isn't it 43 and 9? So I think you should add the 43 and the 9. 43 plus 9, make sure you see it on the calculator, or however you decide, is 52. Don't copy down my answer. Right. Great. So we almost getting full marks over here. But there's one more small thing we have to do to get full marks. Remember, in Venn diagrams, right? If you want to say the number of people in German and then have a particular way to write it, think about it, right? If you look back at last week's notes, the number of people who do German is 52, right? Aren't I supposed to write it like this? N and G in brackets. You all remember that from last week? The number of people who do German is 52. The number of people who do French is 35. And the universals, well, the universal set, the number of items in the universal set is 80. The universals, the letter U, when I write it like this, means everybody. So the number of people in the universal set is 80. If you do not put the N here on the outsides of the circle, you don't have to put it inside the circle and thing. Just for the value representing the whole shape. Only then you get full marks in the exam. Only then. Right? You don't have to take down anything here. Remember, this is the adjusted question. And then we're going to do back the real question. Let's work out part B, because we only did part A, complete the diagram, right? If you are asked now, work out how many students study only German, what would be the answer? Would the answer be 43 or 52? If you are asked the question just like that, work out how many students study only German, what would be the answer in a case like that? Would it be 43 or the whole G circle? 52. Last week I mentioned that, how to get that answer. Right. The answer for this question would be 43. If they say only German, they use the word only. They are not referring to the whole circle. They're just referring to this part here. The 43. All right. Now, I know some of you didn't get it on the first run, right? But I have a backup plan, right? I am going to redo this question, but I'm going to put in the word only. And of course, if you didn't catch it in the first run, it's obviously you're gonna, I hope you catch it on the second run. You are going to see how one little word can change up the entire question. All right? You don't have to take this down. Let's go back and do the original question. Are we going to get different answers? Or at least the diagram will look different. So, resetting everything. We're going to use the word only now. So 9 students study both German and French. Nothing wrong there. That 9 was always there. 2 students do not study French or German, so that goes outside. 35 students only study French. If they say only study French, you cannot put that on the outside, you know. If they said study French and left out the word only, fine. But if they say only study French, that 35 goes inside. So you see how different it is already. I want you all to calculate the missing number here now, right? I'll put in 80 here. This hasn't changed. If the total amount of people in the diagram is 80, you think you can reason out what number is missing here? You have 9, you have 35, and you have 2. How much again do you need to make 80? How much again do you need to make 80? Nine plus 35 plus 2. It's a matter of just adding up the 9, the 35, and the 2, right? And minusing it from 80. So let's double check in my calculations here. 9 plus 35 plus 2, I'm getting 46. And I minus that from 80. Anybody else getting 34 here? I'm getting 34 there. Lots of people are getting, right? Remember, the letter N just means number of items. That was discussed last week and the week before, right? Now, you see how we got completely different numbers this time, right? Anybody wants to tell me, well, it's proper practice that you put a value outside, So what value do you think you should put outside for the French and German circle? Remember, when we put in a value outside, it represents the whole circle. So the French circle comprises of the 9 and the 35. So everyone add the 9 and 35. I think you'll get 44. And for the German, if you put in a value outside, the German is the 34 and 9. 34 and 9. 34 plus 9 is 43. And of course, you have to put the letter N as discussed last week and the week before. The letter N means what? The number of persons in it. You just can't put German equals 43. You gotta write it properly. The number of people who do German is 43. The number of people who do French in total is 44. Can you all send the answer for part B now? We're going to get a different answer. Work out how many students study only German. If they phrase it like this, only, are they referring to the whole German circle or just the 34? Are they referring to the 43 or the 34 in a case like that? And we have more than one example today, guys. So if you catch it the first run, don't worry, you know me. I'm going to do multiple examples, multiple today. And I'm always going to try some trick on you, some trick. Right, and the answers are coming up really fast. The answer for this one would be 34, because only German means the portion inside. It refers to the, in this, well, is the water region. This is the water region here, right? The 34 is the water region only. Right, so do me a favor. Last week, you took down the question, put in the correct answers now to the question. And let's try some more. Now, we're not leaving here until everyone gets this clear today. And I'm taking my time today, right? Right? So rain is falling really hard on this side, so my voice will go up a little bit, right? All right, so let's see what we decide here with the Lagahu. Now, the Lagahu tries to convince us. Obviously, he wants his freedom, right? You can't blame him, right? He wants his freedom. So he tells you that when you exit this cave, you have to go across this place called the Valley of Monsters. And he tells us we are going to need his help. So it's in our best interest to free him, and he will guide us through the Valley of Monsters. Right? So we free him. I don't think we have much of a choice. We're in a strange place, and we may need a guide to go through the Valley of the Monsters. All right, so here we have another question, right? Here's what I want you all to do. I'm going to give you 5 minutes. Take down the entire question. Draw the diagram, take out and write down A, B, and C. But leave about two lines in between A, B, and C so you can put in your answers. Okay? 5 minutes. If you want to try to work it out, not a problem. You can send the answers across within that 5 minutes. Let's see if I can come up with some extra questions on the spot as I work it out. So, how many guests had custard? Part A. Now, you notice in this question, they did not say custard only. They just said custard. Well, if they just said custard, but then they're referring to the whole custard circle, the whole circle. So if they're referring to the whole circle, then it will be 34 plus what? 9. 34 plus 9. When I add it up, I get 43. Now, if they said custard only, they use the word only, then the answer would have been 34. But they did not use the word only. So the answer is 43. Right. Right. And I know this is like Form 2, Form 3 level, but believe me, and guys, these same questions will come for CXC in the multiple choice, right? The same questions will come. As I know some of you will find it easy, but be happy when it's easy, right? Be extra happy. B, how many guests had ice cream and custard? Well, in a case like that, they're referring to the intersection region, right? Nobody got, well, only one person got that wrong from what I could see, right? But that's okay. When they say ice cream and custard, they mean the intersection region, the overlap region. So the answer for that is just what? 9. Okay? Right. How many guests went to the wedding? Well, in a case like that, you just have to add up everybody, right? You have to add up everybody. You have to add up the 51, the 9, the 34, and the 13. 51 plus 9 plus 34 plus 13. 107. How much people got all 3 correct without me meddling or without me helping? Right? Right, okay, right. Angela, you got all correct. Right, Nathaniel, I think you just added up wrong, right? I believe you knew what you was doing, but you just probably typed it wrong on the calculator, right? Some people just need to re-add it, right? There's 13, right? 51, 9, and 34. I think you probably just typed it in wrong on the calculator. Not a big problem. Now, also, I just saying if the examiner said, put in anything that's missing on that diagram. Well, what I would do if I see this diagram and the examiner tells me something, and let's say if something is missing from that diagram, update it. This is the only thing I can really see. You should put a value on the outside. So the number of people who eat custard, remember, when you're putting it on the outside, it's the whole thing. 34 plus 9 is 43. I have to make it fit inside the box, but the rectangle is a bit small. And the number of people who eat ice cream is how much? 51 plus the 9, right? That's the only thing I can really see missing there. 60, right? 51 plus 9 is 60. Also, how much is the number of items in a universal set is 107. Okay? The guys, the only three things I could see missing from that diagram. If the examiner said, hey, something's missing from that diagram, they just add it in, right? I want you all to add it in, so update your diagrams as well, right? These questions mostly come in multiple choice in the exams, right? They mostly come in multiple choice, right? But you never know. It could come in long. That's one question. Yeah. All right. Have a little cough if you guys didn't realize. All right. So we decided to free the Lagahoo, and well, he's going to, how you say, guide us through the Valley of Monsters. So let's see what's going to go on here. So he tells us that, like in most superstition, most monsters are afraid of salt, right? So he gives us salt and tells us to rub it all over ourselves. Just like how the Sukunia is afraid of salt and whatnot. So he seems to have the most experience in this area. So we take the salt, and you and Rowan, you rub salt all over yourselves. All right. And that's a little salt there. Right. All right, so we'll see how that salt works, if it really keeps away the monsters. All right, so now I have a question for you, a slightly harder question, right? Not much harder. I want you all to take down this question. You have a blank Venn diagram there. Complete the Venn diagrams, put in all the values in the correct place, and see if you can answer all 4 questions. So part A is to complete the diagram, and then you have B, C, and D. But write it down. I want you to draw it and everything. Right? 5 minutes, and I'll jump in to assist as usual. All right, so let's see if you have this diagram correct. Now, when it comes to labeling Venn diagrams, your teacher is going to watch every single thing, and you miss out one thing, they're going to find an excuse to take away half a mark or something. So how much people did it have in all? How much people did it have in all? Well, that Saturday night, 100 people came. So how much of you, by show of hands, remember to put the number of people in a universal set is 100? You can't forget that, right? The universal set is the total. But you just can't put U is equal to 100. You have to put NU is equal to 100. And that's the proper way to do it, right? So I hope you all didn't forget it. If you did, don't beat yourself up too much. Great. What's the next piece? 18 people attended the spinning class. Now look at how that is phrased. They said 18 people attended the spinning class, but they never ever use the word only or alone. So I have a good feeling that 18, if you put that 18 inside, it's wrong. They did not use the word only. That's supposed to go on the outside. And to get full marks, you have to put the little N and the brackets. The number of people who attended spin is 18. And once again, that 18 refers to the whole white circle. It's the whole white circle. So we finished this one. We finished that one. 10 people attended both. Now, I know everybody's going to get that one correct. That's the intersection region. And 56, there are 56 lazy people here who didn't bother to attend any of the classes. So I have a good feeling most people got the 56 on the outside. I could assume that everybody at least had up to there, like the majority of people had up to there. Like, you raise your hands and let me know. We're not finished. We're not finished. Some things are missing. We'll get to filling it out just now, right? Right. And people saying yes. Now we have some values missing here, right? Look, we need to put a value here. We need to put a value here, right? We just can't leave there blank. That's not going to look too good. So how are we going to do this? If the whole white circle is 18, and this portion is 10, and over here will be 8, because 8 plus 10 is 18, or you could just take the 10 and minus it from what? The 18, right? So that's how you always get the portion inside. You always minus the intersection region from the total or the whole shape. Okay. Now, to figure out how much goes here, well, we cannot take the 10 and minus it from the C value because we don't have a value for the C circle as yet. But we know it's supposed to have 100 people in total. So if you have 8, 10, and 56, 8, 10, and 56, how much again do you need to make 100? I'm really asking you to add the 8, the 10, and the 56 and minus it from 100. You do not have to add back this 18 because this 18 has already been split up into 2 pieces. It has already been catered for in our calculations. So add up the 8, the 10, and the 56 and minus it from the 100, right? Make sure you have that correct. Just checking through the answers here, making sure. Try my best to keep up with all the answers. 8 plus 10 plus 56, I'm getting 74. Minus it from 100, I am getting 26. A lot of people had that. But we cannot be unfair to Mr. C. How come the white circle get a total value on the outside? Like the amount of people who do spin is 18. And we should be fair with the C circle here. How much people do circuits, sorry. When you put the value on the outside, it refers to the whole circle. So that's 10, not 16. If you put in a value on the outside, it represents the whole circle. So if here's 26 and here's 10, the whole circle is 10 plus 26. That's 36. For those who got that wrong, you think you understand the mistake? Right? A few people said it was 16 by mistake. Right? Right? Once again, to get the 26, we add the 8, the 10, and the 56, and we minus it from 100. Right? Because everything in it's supposed to add up to 100. The universal set is 100. So if we know we have 8, it comes like you're supposed to have $100. You have $8, $10, and 56. How much missing? Right. Now, I just want to explain pieces before we move on to A, B, and C. So it makes life a little bit easier when we explain it. This 8 people here are talking about the 8 here. Oh, sorry. Now, let me start off with an easier question, right? These 10 people here, do they do both spinning and circuits? Like if we were to ask those 10 people, hey, do you all do both spinning and circuits? Will their answer be yes or no? Do they do both spinning and circuits? And the answer is yes, right? Anybody in the middle here, they are the most fit people. They go to the spinning class and they go into the circuits class, right? Right? So, another question now. These 8 people here, do they? Okay, well, I'll just give away the answer instead of asking. Those 8 people there, these 8 people, do you realize that they do spinning only? Like if you were to ask these people, what do you do? They will say, I only do spinning. You will never, ever, ever catch me in the circuits class. So these 8 people are spinning only. They only do one of the exercises. And these 26 people here, they do what? Circuits only. They do nothing else. So these 8 people only do one type of exercise, and these 26 people also do only one type of exercise. Only the 10 here do both. Okay? Only those 10 do both. Right. So let's start answering the questions now. There's only 2 questions we had to answer. Like we said, the D is off the syllabus. Lucky to you. How much are 10 circuits only? Well, I kind of give away the answer, right? You see, some people put the wrong answer. They put 36 in it, but this is wrong. 36 people is the entire circle. This 36 includes the 10 people who do both and the 26 who only do circuits. The answer is not 36, it's 26 because they're asking about only circuits. And part C, how much of them attend exactly one class? And these 8 people here only attend spinning, they only attend one class. And these 26 people, and they only attend one class as well. So we added up the 8 plus the 26, and that will give you the total amount of people who decide to only attend one type of class. They do not attend both classes. 8 plus 26 is 34. Right now, not everybody got these questions correct, right? I think part C was a little bit tricky. Right? Right, so I think I gave him my best shot there, guys. I don't think I could break it down anymore than that, right? All right, so remember the lager who made us rub salt all over our bodies. So let's see how this plays off. Then suddenly out of the river, a huge tree monster appears. All right. I don't know if you all could see it there. It kind of blends in with the background there. That's the huge tree monster. So the monster says to pass, we must pay the toll. So there's a toll to pay. Of course, you and Rowan are wondering, what toll? What is he talking about? So apparently the toll is one of us, right? To eat one of us. And this Lagahu is a smart man, right? That is why he made us rub salt on our skins. That's to prepare ourselves to be eaten. I guess Rowan was correct. We cannot trust what? A Lagahu. So the monster comes in and poor Rowan. At least we get away, right? Me and you get away, right? And she vows to get the Lagahu in the afterlife there. Well, I guess it's just us and the Lagahu. You think the Lagahu is going to double cross us as well? Or do you think he's going to be good company? Right? So let's get those potions back to the witch. All right. See if we can do this diagram now. Now, by now, I'm hoping that everyone is getting better at realizing when values could go inside the shape as opposed to values going outside the shape. I'm hoping by now we're getting a little better at it. To help you out a little bit here, I want this one to represent pianos and this one to represent the guitars. Take down the question and complete the diagram to the best of your ability. Most popular complaint in this question is it have 24 people in all, right? So without saying the universal set, the number of people in the universal set is 24. But people are telling me if it has 24 people in all, when you add up 12, 13, and 4, how much do we get? They just add it up on the calculator. The total amount of people is supposed to be 24. So if you add up all the information, you should at least get 24 or less, right? You're not supposed to get more. And you're getting 29, add it up, make sure and see it. 12 plus 13 plus 4. Right, and you're getting 29 students. 12 plus 13 plus 4 is 29. Let me explain something about Venn diagrams. There's no rule in Venn diagrams that says if it have a certain amount of students or certain amount in total, the individual items doesn't have, talking about in the information given, does not have to add up to that. You know? It's perfectly okay for the question to still be legit. And I want to explain, well, you'll see why in a little while. This question is different from all the other questions. In all the other questions, don't they usually give you the value in the middle here? Look at all the other questions that we did. They usually gave you the intersect region. Everyone's seen that, but in this question, they did not give you the intersect region. So in maths, if you don't know a value, what do you usually put to represent it? What letter do you use to represent it? And this is where your algebra and your homework is going to come in here, guys, right? This is where your homework is going to come in. X, correct. So the middle here is X. I want everyone to put an X there because they never told us how many people play the piano and play the guitar. It would have been, the question would have been super easy if they did. Believe me, you would have been done with that question a long time, but it didn't. So everyone put X there for me, right? Everyone put the X there for me. No, they are not saying it doesn't have an intersect. You know? It's just we don't know the value. There is an intersect, but we don't know the value. Right. So let's plug in some values here now. 12 students play the piano. Where does that 12 go? Inside or outside? Where does that value go, guys? If they state it like that, no one's supposed to get this wrong by now. 12 students play piano. They never use the word only, so it goes on the outside, right? So the number of people who play the piano is 12. I'll label it properly. The next one now. 13 students play the guitar. Look how they phrase that. They never use the word only or alone. So that also goes on the outside, right? Right. Just for simplicity today, guys, I'm just going to leave out the end because, but we're already supposed to put in the end, right? But I'll put it in at the end of the question, right? To make the diagram not look cluttered, right? I think some of you all, the cluttering messing with you. So the 13 goes outside as well. Everybody with me so far? Because they did not use the word only in the first and second sentence, it goes on the outside. And 4 students play neither instrument. They didn't say 4. I realize some people said the 4 going in the middle. But you didn't read it properly. You just assumed that the 4 going in the middle. They said 4 students play neither instrument. That 4 goes on the outside of the 2 circles, not in between the 2 circles. Right? Right. Now tell me something, right? Obviously, so a value needs to go here and a value needs to go here, right? We need to put in something here. Now, I just saying if, and it's a big, big if. Let's say the examiner was nice, right? Let me just say he says the middle here is 10. What value would go here? Let me know on the chat. I just saying if the middle was 10, what value would go there? 2 would go there, right? Because if the whole circle is 12 and here is 10, then here would be, and I'll put the full work in for you, would be 12 minus 10, which will give me 2. And what value would go here? It would be 3, because if the whole circle is 13 and here's 10, then this portion is 13 minus 10, because the whole thing is 13, this portion is 10, so you get 3. The moral of the story is this. Whatever you have in the middle here, you minus it from the full circle. But the examiner was not nice to us. He never gave us the middle. Instead, we had to replace the middle with what? X, okay? We don't know the middle, so we call it X. Does everyone agree that over here is 12 minus X? We don't get a nice value for here. We just get an expression. And what would be the value here? It will be 13 minus X. Everyone take that up to there. We're going to have to try a way to figure out the value of X. In other words, solve for X, right? So instead of X represents the 10, the make-believe 10 we had. Right. Take that up to there. We're going to try to solve for X. We're going to try our best to solve for X. Right. Now, I'm not going to move real cool with all you, right? I'm going to give you a small little revision here, right? In algebra, right? How much is positive 2 minus 2? How much is that? Positive 2 minus 0. Minus 2. Everyone should at least get that correct from the homework. And we'll get 0, right? That's 0, right? Positive 2 minus 2 is 0. And it doesn't matter if the minus 2 is first or the positive 2 is after, right? Minus 2 plus 2 is what? 0. How much is minus x plus x? How much is minus x plus x? It's still what? 0, right? Minus x plus x is 0. Everyone keep that in the back of their head. Right, next question. Minus x plus x minus x. How much is that? Minus x plus x minus an xx. What's the answer for that? Think on it and send the answer on the chat. All right. N, like you can group it in twos. N minus x plus x is 0. So this will boil down to nothing. So you'll be left with what only? Minus x. Minus x plus x will cancel out the 0. You don't have to write the 0. And it will just leave you with what? Minus x. Everyone okay with that? Just give me, I'm going to do that back because you're going to be seeing that today, right? Now let's do it back here without all the clutter. I don't mind doing it back a second time. Minus x plus x minus x. The minus x and plus x, we know this will give us 0. We just established that. So you're just left with what? Minus x. Next question. If you have minus x and an equal sign, and you take minus x and throw it across the equal sign, what do you get? Let me just say I have minus x. I'm left with minus x, and an equal sign magically appeared. When you throw across a minus x on the other side, and you'll get positive x, Quick question. Do you have to write the positive or is the positive understood? But what do you all remember from the homework? You don't have to write the positive, right? If you leave out the positive, like if you have something standing by itself, right? And you leave out the sign, it is automatically positive. This is going to come back to haunt you in a few seconds, okay? So I hope we can all remember that. It shouldn't be too hard to remember because you did the basics in the homework already, right? Right. So where am I going with all of this? You see, the problem with this question here is we don't know the value of x. It would be so nice if we could figure out what x is. You see, once we figure out what x is, that whole diagram is going to be very, very simple. Quick question. When we add up everyone in this diagram, let me just underline it here. When we add up this, and this, those four things, how much are we supposed to get? When we add up those four pink underlined things, what are we supposed to get when we add up all four things? Right, and you all are not holding back. We're supposed to get 24, right? Any total universal set is 24. So here's what, we're going to create an equation. I'm going to do it slow. I'm going to take the 12 minus x. I'm going to write it here. 12 minus x, that is this guy here. I'm going to add it to the x here. Then add it to how much? 13 minus x, and then add 4. And we now said, if we add up 1, 2, 3, 4, we suppose to get how much? 24. We have just created an equation, and if we solve that equation, it will allow us to figure out the value of x. Once again, I don't mind saying it a second time. We now said if we add up everything, we are supposed to get 24. Remember, we do not have to add the 12 and the 13 on the outside. That has already been broken up inside the shape. So all I did was add 12 minus x, that's this guy. Add it to x, that is this guy. Add it to 13 minus x, that is this guy. And add it to 4. And I put it equal to 24. Here's what I want you guys to do. Using your homework skills, solve for x. Get x on one side and everything else on the other side. Now, when I say get x on one side, it has to be what? Positive x. You're solving for positive x. The truth is, it doesn't matter which side x ends up on, right? It really, really doesn't matter, okay? Once x is alone on one side by himself. Take a minute and send the answer for positive x. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to circle all the values, right? And we have 12 here, we have 13 here, and we have a 4 here. And I'm just going to underline all the x's. Minus x, plus x, minus x. Remember I showed you all how to group things, like you put all these similar things together. I know I did that, right? So I'm going to put all the values together, the 12, the 13, and the 4. Let's go and bring them, right? So 12 plus 13 plus 4, right? I bring 1, 2, 3 closer together so we can concentrate on it. And now I will put the x's together. Here is minus x. Positive x, you notice I'm not forgetting the signs, and here's another minus x, right? It just helps you to concentrate when everything is kind of together. I call this grouping, putting all these, dragging all these similar things together. Let's start adding. 12 plus 13 plus 4. I think that's 29. Right? Well, we know that from the beginning of class, right? Over here now, I help you did this part, right? N minus x plus x. I told you that these two will cancel out, leaving you with what? Minus x is equal to 24. Right. Look at the working, make sure that is, well, right. Now we want to solve for positive x. Now, I know I didn't mention this in the homework, right? I normally tell you guys that when you're solving for x, keep x on the left-hand side and everyone else on the other side. But the truth is, it doesn't matter which side x ends up on. I need to solve for positive x. So I kind of see a shortcut here. If I take minus x and throw it across, won't I get positive x? And if I take positive 24 and throw it across, and I'll get minus 24. So on the next line, if you throw across positive 24, you get minus 24. And if you throw minus x on the other side, you get positive x, right? How much is 29 minus 24? 5. So positive x, which is what I need to solve for, is 5. So I just solve for x. X is 5. So that's a real big help out there now. I'm able to solve for x. Now, I know some of you are saying, I know an easier way to get that 5. Take my advice, guys. This way is more complicated. This way will work for any Venn diagram question. Even if it's the most complex two-circle Venn diagram question in the world, you can bet all your money this type of reasoning will work. The shortcut method will not always work. I know some of you all see a shortcut method that you probably learn in school or whatnot. I'm not discouraging you from using any shortcut method, but I'm telling you that shortcut method only works for easy Venn diagrams questions. It will not work for the more complicated one, right? Nathan, check it back, right? If you did it exactly like how I did it here, 29 minus 24 is 5, okay? I decided to throw across minus x on the other side because I know if I throw across minus x, I'm going to get positive x, right? You need to solve for positive x, not negative x. Right. So now we can go complete the diagram, guys, right? Right, I just want to show everyone something. I guess it's worth it because I get a little chance to talk a little bit about algebra here. Suppose, I'm just saying suppose, at this stage here, we wanted to solve for x, but we refuse to throw across minus x on the other side. Let me just say, it's your religious belief, I'm just saying, and you are forbidden to ever throw across a minus x on the other side. Let me just use our imagination, right? So you decide to keep the minus x on this side. So you say, all right, I'll keep the minus x on this side. I'm going to throw across, this here is positive 29, right? So you end up with minus 29 when we throw it across. So look how this looks now. You end up with minus x is equal 24 minus 29 is minus 5. That is what some of you all are seeing in your books because you refuse to throw across the minus x on the other side. But we're still going to get the same answer. You know how? According to the homework, we need to solve for x, not minus x. Isn't minus x the same thing as minus 1x? Just no examiner is going to put in the 1 for you. When you have a number touching a letter, isn't it a secret multiplier according to the homework? So when you throw across the minus 1, which is a secret multiply, you're going to get a divide, right? And when you throw across a multiply, the sign does not change. And when you divide minus 5 by minus 1, and you'll get positive 5, because when you divide 2 minus, you get a positive. Either way, you're going to end up with positive 5. But why do all of that? Why not just throw across the minus x on the other side, get positive x, and throw the 24 on the other side? And to me, that seems a little bit easier. That's just my opinion, right? Right? So either way, you're getting the same answer. So let's move ahead. We need to complete this diagram here for the examiner. We have just learned that x is how much? X is 5. So that means we could go to the diagram now. And anywhere we see the letter X, we can replace it with what? 5. We can replace this with 5, replace this X with 5, replace this X with 5. Because we have just solved for X. You think you all could simplify the diagram now? Simplify 12 minus 5, put one answer. 13 minus 5, put one answer. And the middle is officially 5 now. Only when you're substituting 5 now and you simplify each portion, then you're completely finished with the diagram. Right? Right? 12 minus 5. Remember, we're pretending X is 5, right? So 12 minus 5 is 7. We just reason out that the middle is 5 because X is 5. 13 minus 5. 13 minus 5 because X is 5 is 8. I can prove that our answer is correct. Add 7, 5, 8, and 4, and tell me if you get back 24. Add 7, 5, 8, and 4, and you'll get it 24. You can double check it. We correct now. Nothing wrong in that diagram. The only thing that is wrong already, so I was to put the N and the P here, the N and the letter G there, right? But other than that, everything else falls into place now. Right, so quick question. How much people play the piano only? Listen to the question. How much people play the piano only? What's the answer to that question? I use the word only with piano. Right. Piano only would be 7, right? If I ask how much people play the piano and I left out the word only, well, then the answer would be what? 12. So once again, you just have to be on the lookout for the word only. Right. Great. Right, take 20 seconds and we're going to move on. Well, I just made up this question on the spot to test you all, right? Just to make life easier, remember, I just erasing this, well, 12 here and this 13, right? We know this is the P circle and this is what? The G circle, right? I don't really need to write the 13 because I know the 13 is broken up into 7 and 5 and whatnot. If I ask you for P complement, do you all remember what that means? That means everybody except for what? P. That means I have to shade everybody outside the P circle. So isn't this the P circle here with the 7 and the 5? P complement means everybody outside that circle. So I am going to shade everything outside that circle. In other words, who is not P. I never dare go inside that P circle there. So P complement is everything that I just shaded. What values are in the shaded region? I shaded everything outside the P circle. Nothing inside that P circle has any shading. Add up all the numbers in the shaded region. What do we get? Right, Kaylee, correct. Celicia, correct. Rennie, I forget, I know you're talking about how to pronounce the name, I forget it already. Anja, send an answer, send an answer. The answer would be 12, correct. And the 8 and the 4 in the shaded region, all the values outside the P circle is 8 and 4. So the answer would be 12. P complement is 12. because the 8 and the 4 are outside the P circle. They are not part of P. Right? So I saw more correct answers than wrong answers. So that is a good start there. All right. All right, let's checking through. I know I won't be get to check through all the answers, but I think I did most. All right. Union G. This means union. Another word for union is combine. You want to combine everything in P and G. That would be 7, 5, and 8. Okay, 7, 5. You're combining everything in P and G. Once it fall anywhere, once it has anything to do with a P or a G, even the slightest thing related to them, you are part of it. So I need my calculator for that. So 7 plus 5 plus 8. Yes, 7 plus 5 plus 8. For some reason, I get in 20. Am I correct there? 20. Right? One last question on this, and I know you're all getting tired. If I ask you the same question, P union G, but outside the brackets, I put the complement. Remember, if you put the complement side outside the brackets, they're asking you for the opposite of everything in the brackets. So P union G is 20, right? I'm asking you, who is not part of that 20? Who is not P union G? When you combine P and G, who is not in that combination? Who is the only person not in that combination? Right, right. So remember, the n means the number of, to add up. So to get the 20, I add up 7, the 5, and the 8. These 7 are not in, it represents 7 individual numbers inside here. It has already been added up to get 7. This 5 is 5 individual items, and this 8 is already 8 individual items. So they're already added up, right? So when you say n here, it means we're adding up the 7 individual items, the 5 individual items. It has already been added up for us. How much of you are getting 4 over here? Because that's the only person. That 4 is this 4 here. Remember, when you combine P and G, the 7, 5, and 8, who is not part of that 7, 5, and 8? Mr. 4. He's outside that combination. He's left out. Right? In these types of questions, right? You see how it have the minus sign in the middle? It really belongs to the top. Like even this minus sign here, it really belongs to the top. Or at least that is how you should interpret it. But here's the thing. If this minus sign belongs to the top, it belongs to everybody on the top. Everybody. So what you should do is put its whole top in brackets. And then when you move the minus sign to the top, put it to the top here. But make sure you have the top in brackets, because the minus sign is going to get applied to the whole top. The same thing over here. When this minus sign, when you pretend it on top, make sure and put the whole top in brackets. So the whole top gets multiplied by the minus sign. Right? So what we should do first is get rid of the brackets. So let's multiply the brackets. Every one on top gets multiplied by the minus sign. Remember, this is positive 18, right? Minus by positive is a minus. So you get minus 18a And a minus by the minus 12 will give you positive 12. And this whole thing is divided by minus 3. This one is pretty straightforward. This is just a positive sign. If you put the positive sign to the top and you put the brackets, it really won't change anything. It's the minus signs that has changed everything. Over here now, minus by positive 30A is minus 30A. Minus by minus 4A is is positive 4B. Everyone take down up to there. But for those who had trouble with the question, take down up to there. And notice the minus sign gets applied to the whole top. I'm gonna pause it there so you can take it down for them. So what I did was I divided everybody on top now individually by the value underneath. And we just take our time now, right? Let's just take our time. When you divide two minus, you'll get what? A positive. If you divide a positive and a minus, you get a negative. I'm going to assume that you remember that from the homework. Minus 18A divided by minus 3 is positive 6A. Positive 12B divided by minus 3 is minus 4B. Positive 10B divided by minus 5. Remember, this positive already belongs on top, right? You'll get minus 2b because 10 divided by 5 is 2. A positive divided by a negative is a negative, and you put back the b. Minus 5 divided by minus 5 is positive 1. Don't forget to put the a. Minus 30 divided by positive 10 is minus 3a. Right. Hope I write nothing wrong here. Oh, I made a small mistake in the question, but nothing big, nothing we can't correct, right? It's supposed to be 40b here. It's not a big mistake. It's supposed to be 40b, my mistake. Not 40b. 40 divided by 10, positive divided by positive, you'll get 4b there. Right, so sorry about that small mistake. Right. Right. So all you have to do now is group all the A's together and all the B's. Look, all the A's here. 6A. Right. I hope I make no more mistakes. Right. Again, a little bit sleepy, but right. So positive 6A, positive 1A, minus 3A, minus 4B, minus 2 positive. Minus 4B, minus 2B, plus 4. Right. This part here, oops. 6 plus 1 is 7. 7 minus 3 is 4. So here's 4A. Minus 4B minus 2B is minus 6B. Minus 6B plus 4B is minus 2B. Okay. I think the major problem with this question was how to go from here to here. Everything else was pretty easy. All right, so guys, for those who had problems with that question, and I hope this clear it up a little bit for you guys, okay? I know some of you had asked me to work this one out. Yeah, I only gave you the answer. The aim was to work towards the answer, like keep busting your head until you get the answer. That was the aim of the question. All right, guys, so once you have it down and you understand it, you're free to leave, right? So. All right, so take care, guys. All right, have a good one. Thanks for coming to class.